Hello and welcome everybody. So I'm guessing that you're here because you want to learn something about the writing system Ogham. Well, Ogham is a writing system that was used to represent Irish language, specifically primitive Irish, so the form of Irish that existed between the 4th and probably to the 7th centuries. Probably some proto-form of Ogham existed as early as the 1st century. The origins of Ogham are quite enigmatic. Some theories state that it is a descendant of Greek, others Latin, others even suggest Old Norse. Most inscriptions that we have are in primitive Irish. However, some inscriptions in Ogham represent Latin, Pictish, and even Brythonic. Brythonic is the form of Welsh language before it developed into the Welsh language that we know today. And there is even some speculation that it was used to represent other languages. However, this is debated in the literature. I'm looking at you, Old Norse. Another heavily debated area concerning Ogham is the origin of its use. One popular theory states that it was a cipher used to represent the Latin alphabet, probably so that church authorities couldn't understand what people were communicating about. However, another popular theory states that perhaps it was encouraged, created by the church authorities as a more elegant writing system to represent Latin. Of course, Latin was not designed to represent Irish language, it was designed to represent Latin, and kind of some elements of the Latin alphabet don't really work with representing primitive Irish. The writing system Ogham is characterised by a central line which is punctuated by a series of lines or notches. There are 20 signs in all to represent different letters of the Latin alphabet, say, and these signs are divided into 4 groups of 5. These groups are important because each group represents a common feature connected to the representation of the particular sound. For example, the 4th group is notches only and represents vowels. The 3rd group represents all diagonal lines, and the 2nd and 1st groups represent either vertical or downward strokes from that horizontal line. Of course, everything depends on the orientation of the central line in itself. Sometimes the central line ran horizontally, but most often it ran vertically around the edges of stone monuments. There are also some additional signs which represent different sounds. These are more complex and are usually found in later manuscripts and don't actually represent primitive Irish, but a later form called Old Irish. Each letter is traditionally given a name, and these names are usually connected to a tree, the Irish name for a specific tree. However, we're not going to talk about these names in too much detail today because, like many things connected with Ogham, it is tremendously debated in the literature, the origin and meanings of these names. Monumental Ogham inscriptions are found throughout Ireland and the western side of Britain. There is, I think, one solitary example in England. The rest are found in Wales, Cornwall, the Isle of Man and Scotland. One of my favourite activities when I go back home to the United Kingdom and visit Wales, for example, is I take my kids out Pokemon hunting, playing Pokemon Go, but actually we're out looking for Ogham inscriptions. And you know, it's great fun getting out in nature, exploring some unusual place that you've never been and hunting down those Ogham inscriptions. Usually what I do is take a pad, some paper with me. I try to scribble down the inscription as best as I can. Sometimes I visit local museums where they will either have a monument stone, for example, there, and again I will scribble down the inscription, or they don't have the monument for some reason and they have a representation of it, and I just copy that and add it to my collection. The boring guy that I am. Oh man, my memory card ran out as I was recording the video, and I only noticed it when I sat down to start editing it and putting it all together. But I wanted to say one thing at the end, is that Ogham is great fun to mess around with even today in 2023. In my language classes with students, I actually teach a class about Ogham, how it looks like, the origin of it, little bits of Old Irish, and we play around with it a bit. And then I troll the students in subsequent weeks by hiding the answers to activity questions inside pictures inside the activities, right? Like you can discreetly put Ogham in there, because if you're not looking for it, it kind of blends into the background of things like this. And I know my students picked it up as well, because I think last year at the end of the semester, at the end of the summer semester, I collected some textbooks back, and I noticed that there were little Ogam messages on some pages inside the textbooks. I don't know whether they were like, I don't know, personal messages, some graffiti that the author had written down, or if they were messages to other students or whatever. But people were using Ogham in my classroom in 2023. I thought that was kind of fun and cool. If you want to learn more about Ogham and Old Irish, Primitive Irish in general, I can recommend two books to expand your knowledge. One is here behind my shoulder, Sengoidelc. It's by David Stifter. It was published in 2006, and it's great. It has a good introduction to Ogham. It only lasts a few pages, but it gives you all the information that you need. And it's a great textbook for learning Old Irish. There is another book I recommend by Damien McManus. I hope I remember that correctly. 1991, the book was released. It's called something like A Guide to Ogham. I'll put links to both of those books in the description. That is a really thorough book, and when you read that, you'll have a really solid grounding in the writing system. And yeah, it's great to have fun with. But I'm here talking to the camera, talking to myself again. Why don't we go and find one of my inscriptions that I copied down from my notebook, and we can have a go of translating it together. What do you think? Is that going to be fun? Probably not, but let's try it anyway. Right, hello, okay, welcome back. I believe that I am recording both my voice and my screen at the moment, so that's good. Sorry if this all seems a bit janky. I'm new to making YouTube videos. I'm learning as I go. This is the best way that I can think of doing this. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Let's translate some Ogham. I found an inscription from my collection. I scanned it and I have it here. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. So sorry if it's a bit dull, if it's difficult to see, but I think I actually copied down this inscription in pink crayon, which I guess was my daughter's and all I had at the time. And it says that it's a personal reproduction, bilingual Ogham, Latin and Irish. So we've got the Latin across here, Irish below, Nevern Cymru. So that was collected somewhere in Wales. Let's take a look at the alphabet though before we get stuck in. So we've got, which version are we going to look at? This version. So this is the Ogham alphabet, and it's broken down into those four different groups that I spoke about earlier. Here we've got the notches, which the fourth group is the notches, which represents the vowel sounds. And then we've got the diagonal strokes here all together in a group. And then we've got groups 1 and 2, which represent straight strokes protruding either side of that main central line, which is characteristic of Ogham. So this would all be pieced together, to make a word, and that line would run across. This orientation of the Ogham writing system would be the orientation that you would find in manuscripts, and it would go from left to right. We're today looking at the orientation that you would find on monuments, which would be like this, and that central line would go up the left-hand side of the monument as you're facing it, usually around the top, and then back down the right-hand side. Let's take a look again at our inscription, and yeah, so you can see that this monument probably would have been orientated so that this side would have been in the ground and the monument would have been standing vertically, with this side presented on the left hand side of the viewer as they're looking at it, and the Latin would have been presented on the right hand side. These notches aren't like protruding into thin air. They would actually be protruding around the corner of the monument stone. So this obviously would have been in 3D, but I'm not artistic and couldn't represent it in 3D. when I took my copy down. And the Ogham would have been done on the kind of seam on the corner of the monument. And yeah, before we get into translating it, we can learn a little bit about it, because I think the UCL has, I don't think it does have this website, which is a database of Ogam inscriptions. It might be all inscriptions actually in the British Isles and Ireland. And yeah, we have some information about it here. Nevern is presumably the place where the monument is. So I'll be honest, I don't remember this monument at all. I don't know whether I actually went and visited it and copied it down, or whether it was in a museum and I copied it down, or whether it was in a book in a museum or a book in a library. It doesn't seem to ring a bell, to be honest, but when I checked it out, it seems relatively easy to translate. Do we have a picture here? Yeah, we have a picture, and that is the orientation that I was talking to you about. So that's how it would have been. That's how you would have looked at this stone back in ye olde primitive Irish days. And yeah, presumably it was used as a funerary marker, or like to denote that this is somebody's land, or something like this. Right, let's get stuck in. Let's get translating it. So I've used Paint, everybody's favorite image manipulation program. Again, sorry if it's a little bit difficult to see. I've just cut my picture, I've put it into Paint, and I've taken the Ogam, the format which is suitable for reading, the orientation which is suitable for reading monuments. And let's look at the Latin here first. It's something like Magios, Philly, so that's important. Clutor. Philly is important because Philly means son of in Latin, or son in Latin. Any people who speak Latin better than I do, please correct me. So we know that we can expect Mac or Mackie, which means son of, in the primitive Irish if it's a bilingual translation, which my notes say that it is. Mackie is where we get the modern Irish Mac, Muck. McDonald means son of Donald. So that will help us. And to be honest, though, I can see from the beginning that, okay, let's write it down. Here's our first sign. Again, we would read it from the bottom left going up. That's our M. Got an M there. We got an A there. That notch is the second one. So let's write that A in. We've got a G here. Let's put that down. We got an L here, right, which is what we would expect. This is going to be a vowel. What is it? It's an I, is it? One. Yeah, an I. Count the notches up, yeah. What's this? It's the opposite orientation of the L, so it would be a, what's this? C. I'm doing this on the fly really quickly, so if I make any mistakes, please correct me in the comments. I'm sure you'll all be eager to do that. That's a U. Yeah, it's kind of like how we expect it to be. Obviously, they might not be exactly the Latin representation of somebody's name, might not be word for word transliterated that way in primitive Irish, because of, the name could have been different in Latin. Like, for example, you have Chris in English, but Krzysztof in Polish. What have we got here? Is that an S? Looks like an S. Is that an S? No, that's sorry, I'm getting confused. That's an N and that's an S. So we're gonna have to, let's undo that. Can I undo that? Yeah, there we go. Right, let's get this right. How many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's an N. This is an S. right? Yeah, 4. There we go. So you got to be careful with that when reading. And then we get back into familiar territory again. We've got this same word order. So that's, I'm going to guess, is going to give us our Maki, which means son of. Here we've got the A, right, which we had before. What do we got here? We've got our Q, just as we expected, right? And we've got our I here. Is this going to give us... right, does that look right? Yeah, there we go. What's that going to give us there? That one is... L. What have we got here? We've got through, this is a U. And what have we got here? There's a 3 there, which is a T. Right, so there we go. We've transliterated this. So we've got Maglicun's, Maki Lut, which is kind of similar to what we expect here. We don't expect Lut, we expect Clutor. Clutor could be the Latin derivation of this person's name, and this could be the primitive Irish of... I can't really read the Latin there, what that symbol is supposed to be, for example. I'll need to research how Latin looked in British inscriptions a little while after this video. But broadly, we've done kind of like the groundwork here into translating Ogham. And you know what, usually these monumental inscriptions represent names, so we're usually looking for name forms that are familiar and things like this. Do we have some information here about the translation of it? Yeah, this is the Latin, presumably. That's the Irish, I would guess. We didn't have that C though. I don't think in our version. Was that my mistake in when I copied it down? Let's check the picture again. Yeah, there's a C there, which I don't think I... No, oh dear. So I missed a C when I was copying this down. So yeah, now it starts to resemble a bit more like it should. That's actually a lesson when you are hunting down Ogham inscriptions of your own. If you're ever in Britain or Ireland, you know, you really need to... It's easy maybe to lose count of where you are through the process of recreating the Ogham, and to miss a letter or something like that. And you know, missing a letter can dramatically impact how you translate or understand a particular inscription. And to be honest, I will guess that here we have different people's readings of the... yeah, we do. So these are different people's readings of the same inscription. That's because everybody can make mistakes, and it's important to get a few different... Look, this is quite different, but basically all of them seem to have this name, this first name beginning with this Maglicunus, Maki Clut. It's not too far away from the version that we had. What do we have? Maglicunus, Maki Clut, but I missed out the C. There we go. Well, I hope this has been useful for you guys and girls. What I would suggest is, you know, take a look online, try and find some pictures of Ogham inscriptions, and have a go at transliterating them yourself, trying to work out what they mean. They're usually names. The manuscript Ogham that we have is usually a bit more complicated, so that's a bit more tricky. But yeah, it's great fun to, like I said, if you live in the UK or Ireland, or you visit the UK or Ireland, It's great fun to get out and about and try and hunt down some of these stones, not just for the primitive Irish, but for some of the Latin inscriptions that we have on monuments across the British Isles. Everywhere I go on holiday, pretty much I'm looking for some monuments, some inscription that I can translate. In a few weeks, 4 weeks actually, I think to the day, I'm heading off to Cyprus. I can't wait. And there I'm looking forward to finding some Greek inscriptions, maybe some inscriptions in the Cypriot alphabet or Cypriot writing system, you know, the system that they used pre Greek alphabet, maybe even, I don't know, are there any Hittite inscriptions in Cyprus? I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting there. I'm looking forward to hunting them down, translating them, copying them down, playing with them. And I think that, you know, working with stuff like this, it's a great opportunity for you to learn something about the language, learn something about a new writing system, and, you know, kind of touch the past. So yeah, I hope it's been useful. I'll be back very shortly with another video, hopefully less janky than this. Have a great day and see everybody soon.